If you're a personal brand, you're posting content, and you're trying to use these things to sell more of your high ticket offers from your content, but you're wondering why people aren't converting, they're getting on sales calls, they have loads of objections, or they're even not booking sales calls at all, I'm going to go over the exact 4 stories that I'll use to sell more with stories. So I'll tell these stories to sell, and I want to run you through them. And because stories are power, I've got 4 stories here to show you. And honestly, these are the stories that I've told to get out of a situation that I was in. Because right now, if you're trying to sell more of your high ticket offers, but you can't, and when I say more, by the way, I mean more units or more price. So you're increasing volume of sales or increasing the value of the sales. You're likely lacking one of these 3 things. The first one is trust. There's like everyone in the game is missing trust at the moment. All right, I'm gonna go. All of these 4 stories, by the way, will combat every single aspect of these. They are the reason why they exist. They are the reason why stories exist. And if you're thinking about clicking off this video because you don't think stories have power, let me change your mindset in that just a second. The second one being connection. They don't feel like they know you. They don't feel like they really understand you or know if you're the right person for them. And then finally, we have clarity. And I think clarity is one of the most important reasons for myself in the past when I haven't sold high ticket offers in the way that I wanted to. It's because I realized I wasn't actually clear on the path that I wanted to take my dream customer on. And just before we get into this, I want to show you a little bit about myself. All right, this is my account, 15k. As you can see, we're selling a high ticket offer from here, and I've worked with a portfolio of other personal brands and creator based businesses to help them scale, and a lot of them are high ticket focused. Right, we've had a client in just the past few weeks who has managed to close 9k in 10 days from his high ticket offer, which is actually incredible, and that came from a position of not having it out before. And literally he told me that on one of his sales calls the guy closed because he said, I like the story that you told so much. And I've got a bonus for that at the end because there's a little bit of a nuance to go with it, so I'm going to show you that as well. But again, this is my website. Like, if you click the link in the description, this is what you'll get. But as you can see, you know, we've got the results, we've got the kind of process of finding, telling, selling your story. This is what I do. I work with personal brands, creators and businesses to help them scale. And we do it all through story marketing and story sales. All right, so that's why I'm here today, to show you how you can sell more of your high ticket offer through telling the right stories. All right, you might think this is kind of weird. You might have not heard many people talk about storytelling in this way to get, keep and convert more of the right attention. But I've always found it's been the most important thing. Storytelling has been around since the beginning of time. So it's one of those things that works on every platform, but in a specific way, because it works off timeless principles. And stories are the human brain is absolutely wired for stories. I had this crazy stat the other day that it's like the brain spends 30% of its time daydreaming. When it's not engaged in a task or a story, it's daydreaming. And when it is listening to a story, when a story is being played or listened to, the brain is 100% active. And the other thing it does, the brain matches the vibe and the frequency of the person telling the story, so you can actually guide someone with a story. And when I heard this, I was absolutely blown away. And all of these 4 stories are designed in a way to help you do that, to help you guide your dream customers to where you want to go, where they need to go to get the result that they're trying to get to. All right, that's why story is so important. And story builds so much trust, so much connection, and it gives so much clarity in terms of steps, because stories may seem confusing, they might seem like a lack of clarity, they might seem just all over the place, but actually when you understand story fundamentals, they're formulaic and they work consistently every single time. All right, so that's what I'm running through in this video. We're going to go through the 4 stories, and I'm going to show you how to tell and when to tell each of them. Stories are power. We have to understand that before we move forward. You have to understand stories are power. All right, stories have been around since the beginning of time. I'm not going to keep going on about it, but it's the reason why this works so well. First of all, though, as a little note, stories and sales both get a lot easier when you know exactly who you're speaking to. This is having the right ideal customer profile, but it's not just that. A lot of people stop there when they talk about this. Understanding who you speak to isn't just your ideal customer profile. From a storytelling perspective, from a narrative building process perspective, what we need to have is 5 things. All right, I'm going to draw them out here real quick. We need to have our hero. All right, this is, that's actually pretty neat. I can't even lie, that's quite impressive. Anyway, the hero is our dream customer. This is where the ICP document comes in, because it gives us all the characteristics of the hero. But the hero has the hero has a villain, all right? The hero is trying to get past the villain and get to, I'm just going to draw a star. That's going to be easier. What an amazing star. The hero is trying to get past the villain and get to where they want to go. And then the hero has two extra things to go with them, all right? They have one, which is the why, and this one, which is the where. So where are they currently at? Why do they want to get to where they want to go? So the star. And then there's one more character involved in this, and this is where you're going wrong. This is where you should be. If you're trying to sell high ticket and your selling process, you should not be the hero. You should be what we call the guide or the leader, or the mentor or the coach, or however you want to say it based on what your offer is. You're the guide, all right? Every good story has a guide, and this literally will take the hero to where they want to go with overcoming the villain, help them get away from where they currently are, and do it all while remembering the reason why they started in the first place. And like the reason I draw this out and go into this detail of actually who we're speaking to is because it gives so much depth, all right? When we understand who our hero is, what their struggles, so what's the villain getting in the way, who do they want to help them, what steps do they want to take, who do they trust to get them there, where are they actually trying to get to, or where are they currently, and why are they doing the whole thing? We understand so much depth, all right, behind who we're trying to speak to. This process is speed ran if you are speaking to your past version of yourself. So if you can change that in a specific way where you are speaking to a past version of yourself in skill, in knowledge, in age, in whatever types of like past version of yourself could be, then use that, because you know every single position here. You have a specific vision of what every single part of this look like, and you can make that 100% just 3D. All right. So now we understand, story and sales get a lot easier when we know exactly who we're speaking to. We can get on to the first stories to tell. Right. As we can see, now right here, we've got our 4 stories. I'm going to go through one by one and show you each of them. First story is your origin story, all right? This is probably what came to your mind as soon as I mentioned stories. And you might think, actually, oh no, I haven't been telling my origin story. If you're not telling your origin story, you haven't communicated your origin story in a way where it leads to the reason why you're selling what you're selling today, then you are missing out on a huge amount of trust with your audience. Because as an audience, we see someone selling something, but we don't know the backstory behind it. We have no idea how long they're selling it. They could have put that offer for the first time yesterday, and you just came across it. That's not building trust. We don't have faith in that. That's not a good position to be in, all right? So we want to get into a position where you're telling your origin story regularly so other people can understand it and buy into it. As I do with myself, if I pull out my account again, I have a lot of reels. I'll mute this. I have a lot of reels where I'm telling my backstory. I'm going through my past. I'm telling my origin story of how I got to where I am today, and honestly leading me to a situation where I understand the switch. What was the switch that I went through? What was the breakthrough that I had? What was the new approach that I took? And how is that come through a story? Because realistically, you're in a position where you are selling a new opportunity, a new transformation, a new something or other, all right? It has to be positioned as new, all right? This is one of the first things I'll do with each one of my new clients is understand what their process is, what is their product, what's their offer, what's the mechanism behind it, and how is that different to everyone else, and then go in and understand how they got to a position where that even became their offer. Like for myself, understanding that storytelling is the key to growing in content and business, I had to go back and tell the story of how I got to a situation where I understood like storytelling was the thing. And it came to a position in my life where I was just like so fed up of everything the gurus told me, I just gave up and started to tell stories, and then stories worked. Stories actually gave me the success that I wanted. Obviously there's a lot more depth to the origin story, but it shows you the reason why I believe that stories are the key. Then you have that trust as well, because like I said earlier, you're not daydreaming when I'm telling you that story, and your brain frequency, if I told you that story in depth, like in my actual short form content, your brain like naturally is going to match my frequency in my brain and connect and just follow the same process, because I'm taking you on a journey and the same journey that I took myself on to understand that this is the new opportunity. So therefore, I'm selling you on the vehicle, selling you on the opportunity. Plus, if you have the origin story that's personal, people buy into you. You might have heard, like, if you're selling coaching, you're not selling coaching, you're selling the coach. If you're selling whatever it is you're selling, like if you're selling info, if you're selling like consulting, if you're selling like whatever high ticket it could be, it's like, so if they're going to be working with you, the person, or someone specifically, even a software, then you have to understand the person behind it, because we're buying into someone. People buy from people. We need to understand who we're buying into. With that being said, that is story one. Tell your origin story in a specific way. All right, you use your origin story. Go from backstory to pain to switch. So what's changed in the new world? What actually happened? So that's the origin story framework in a really simple way. We'll go through it again. Backstory. Where did you start? What was the pain was associated with that? Moving into what led you to change the opportunity and the approach, and leading that into the new world. So what's different? What new world do you live in now? That's story one. All right, now we're going to get into story two. The mission. This is one that I get a lot of questions about, and actually see a lot of people kind of do wrong or do right by accident. So this is a really weird one. The mission is made a lot easier when you see it as these two parts. When you have a vision and a villain. So a mission for myself, for Project Finesse, which is my business or my brand, I am trying to help content creators and entrepreneurs, people trying to go personal brands, become what I call one of one by telling their story and telling stories to stand out. All right. The vision for that is becoming one of one. We fight against the gurus who are trying to make everything the same, or everyone who's just trying to compete against the same thing and just copy each other's content. That's a villain. All right, we have then two counterparts. We have a narrative there that's fighting against each other and trying to get to a specific location. That is a mission. For anyone that thinks the same things as them, as me in that situation of, I want to be different, I want to stand out, I don't want to copy anyone else, they are automatically aligned with this mission and are going to follow the content that goes with it. So if I can articulate that mission throughout my entire sales process, throughout my entire funnel, throughout my entire ecosystem and content, then that mission is going to be bought into by the people I'm going to be working with. It's the same thing with, I don't know if you guys have seen like Represent, like their mission is on a mission. It's the same principles applied. They're selling clothing, we're selling high ticket. Okay? So you need to have that mission, the depth behind what you're doing. When we spoke earlier about your hero, the villain, and guide, what's this bit over here? It's the why. The why is the mission. Right? We need a purpose behind just posting content or trying to grow a personal brand or trying to make money. We need a reason behind it, right? Something people can buy into and be a part of for like a long term. You know, actually build a brand here. This is something like that I love to do, and I think it genuinely builds a really long term followers. And when I did this for myself with my content a couple of weeks ago now, we hosted an in real life event through this because we had the vision and a villain. So when we just decided, like me and one of my partners on the mastermind kind of prong of my business, we put up an Instagram story speaking about the vision of the villain, and we had 25 people show up the next week to be part of our mastermind. All right, and it's because our content and our brand had the mission involved with it. So communicate your mission in your content. Tell us where you're trying to get to, why, and what are you overcoming. All right, now we move on to story 3, the offer. This is where we come back to the likely lacking clarity point. All right, we need to tell stories about the offer. You know, you need to tell stories about the offer in a couple of different ways, whether that's client testimonials, you building or selling the offer, using the offer, or actually just telling us how to be involved in the offer. Because a lot of times, if you think about it from your perspective, when you've seen someone who's selling something high ticket on Instagram, I'm going to say for example, you watching me right now, I'm selling a high ticket program, which is like it's a one-on-one with me, but it's not really like it's a program. It's like, I like to call it done together, where we work to scale your personal brand and your business together. I'll help you find, tell, and sell your stories and the right stories to your audience to help you grow. And if you want to be a part of it, I want you to click the first link in the description, head to the landing page, and then watch the video so you know what it's about, if it's the right fit for you. Then click the application link, fill out the application, and from there I'll be in touch to book a call with you and see if we're the right the right fit to move forward. What I've done there is told you a story about the offer so you can see those steps in your mind, but also you know how clear of a step to take is. A lot of people just assume that people either know or they don't want to talk about the entire thing. They don't want to give that much screen time to the offer. Like they're not selling enough, or they're selling like too much, but in a kind of a vague way. All right, you need to give clear steps. 1, 2, 3. All of my ManyChat messages say, thanks for opting in for this. This is what you need to do. First of all, click the link in the description. Click the link down below in the button. 2, watch the video. 3, use the information. Whatever it is, like whatever those 3 steps are. And that's why my ManyChat sequences have a much higher conversion rate. They're sitting at about 60 to 65% when the industry average is between 15 and 5. It's like this. The kind of way of just giving a clear steps in terms of the offer and wrapping that up in a story of literally just giving the steps will make it instantly more interesting and have people pay attention to it. Okay? Pairing that then with story 4, we have the most important story. The customer's mind. The story inside the customer's mind is the one that we need to tell, because this is the one that will sell the most. I was doing a masterclass call inside a content creation community the other day, and I got asked a question about B2B offerings. And the question was about, no one in B2B wants to hear my origin story. No one wants to hear my, backstory. They don't care. They don't care about me. They only care about themselves and the money that it can make them. And I was like, okay, cool. That's true. But that means you're looking at storytelling from a really narrow perspective. Again, like the first thing that probably came to mind when I mentioned story was origin story. But story needs to be everything. Stories are a vehicle of delivering information. That's it. Stories are a vehicle for delivering change. So we have to tell a story to help our customer's mind change. So this means we tell a story of the customer's mind. So if we come back to here, where we have our hero, our villain, where we want to get to, the guide, the why, and the where. All right? We need to understand the depth of every single one of these. We need to understand the specific pictures that our customer can see at every part of this that may stop them getting from where they want to go. If this can be characterized in a position of like, what are the limiting beliefs? If our customers think they're going to move forward with us, but then they have a limiting belief about what it will look like or what the service is or what the vehicle is, we need to tell a story to counteract that. We need to tell a story to paint the picture of what it will look like, current situation, dream outcome. What does that look like? We can tell that story through ourselves, through our past customers, through them, just what it's actually going to look like. Because when you understand your customer so much, you understand the depth and what's going on in their mind so much, because you've been in their situation, you know your customer so well, you can tell the right story to help them get to where they want to go. Because if you genuinely understand the limiting beliefs that are in their way, all you have to do is think back to a position where you or someone has had those limiting beliefs and just tell the story about how you overcame it. That's it. This will remove a huge amount of resistance. And if you do this, your customers will move forward with you. And I'm going to come back to the customer's mind in just 1 second, but I want to show you, 2 ways that 2 ways you can enhance all of these 4 stories. All right. The bonus is when these are told in content and on the sales call too, or in your sales process, however that works for yourself. If these are told in content and in the sales process, these will be way more effective. So what this means is that we understand these 4 stories and different types of ways to sell. We understand them on a macro and a micro level. We understand them in our content on a wide level, but we understand them in the sales process on a personal level. It's like it's just focused to me. You feel like you're being spoken to one-to-one, but with one-to-many impact, because that's what story in content in sales can do. We can speak one-to-one with the impact using these stories to create so much depth in who we're speaking to, but also deliver that in a one-to-many and get the leverage back from telling our stories. So if these are holding content and in sales calls too, they're going to build up to become really 3D. And honestly, I've been in a position where I've told these in my content, and then people have hopped on sales calls with me and brought these up to myself. They have said like the mission to me. They have said like, and not in a way of like, they want to make me feel like happy from them saying it. They've just said like it's the mission that they have. And I'm like, okay, well, you got that from content. That's amazing. We're perfectly aligned for this. I'm like, I'm already in a position where we know we can work together. Like, this is perfect. Like, you're bought in. You understand what we're trying to do. You have the same mission. That's great. We can move forward with this. So this is what happens when you tell these 4 stories. You will be able to sell more high ticket. As you can see right here, more units, more price, because we are building trust, building connection, and giving clarity on the steps to take, because someone connects with the origin story. They understand the switch that you took. They understand the mission that you're on now, where you're going, who you're fighting against. They understand the offer and the steps to take to get there. And then finally, we understand the customer's mind, so we understand the current situation, where we're trying to get to, and we can tell stories from our own experiences to paint specific pictures in the viewer's mind that they can see to help them take that next step. And that next step, again, is not always conversion. The best next step isn't always to sell. For some people, it's not. They should not sell, all right? You're just trying to convert the people with the best fit, and that is done through the stories that we have, and that is done through organic, authentic storytelling. We're not trying to convert everyone. That's probably going to be a problem. We're trying to convert the people who are the best fit for the program, all right? Or for whatever you're selling. That has been how to sell more high ticket from content. If you're looking to scale with me, if you want me to find these stories for you and help you implement them into your content and your sales process with our story marketing, organic story marketing, like I already said, go into the description, click on the link, read through the offer, watch the video to understand the offer, and apply if you think you're a good fit. And I'll be in touch. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon. Bye.